In this video, we're going to add the Orchestrator node to the multi-agent workflow that I'm building as an example to teach myself MindPal. So this is my dinner party planner workflow that I started in the previous video. For a quick refresher, this workflow takes my human input, what are we planning, and then my personal assistant agent, who's trained just to be a personal assistant, will take my ideas and provide 3 dinner party ideas based on that. And then I get to choose one. This is just a fun way to learn MindPal, because I find that anything with AI, agents, workflows, it really helps my brain if I use a real world idea and get it kind of out of tech jargon. So this is what it looks like on the back end. We have an input field. What are we planning? And then my personal assistant agent is going to give me 3 ideas based on the input of what is put in the human input. So those 3 ideas are going to come out, and then there's a text box where I paste in the favorite idea that I want to move forward with. But in order to create the menu cards, recipes for the private chef, and the cocktail, and anything else that we want to plan, we need to use the Orchestrator worker node. Under new node, we're going to go new node, Orchestrator worker, and let's zoom out a little bit. We want to make sure that we are putting this down here as our next step of the workflow, and then we can connect these. So let's call this menu creator. I want to select my personal assistant agent again for right now. And I already put my task in here. Our max tasks to plan is set to 1 right now. And then it also wants us to select a worker agent. And I'm just going to use the personal assistant. We only have that 1 agent right now. In my previous video, I showed how we have 1 personal assistant agent, and you can think of this agent as a person on your team. The only thing that this agent is instructed to do or be is, you're my personal assistant, you help me with tasks, you're extremely helpful, but you're very sarcastic. So we have a little bit of personality in there. And then we are using Gemini 2.0 Flash as our language model, because I haven't put in any of my API credits to MindPal for this account yet, and I'm just on the free MindPal plan. That means inside of this workflow, the personal assistant agent doesn't have any specialized training or knowledge. It's just here to basically do what I ask it to do. So in the agent step where we're planning the party ideas, it's just going to plan those ideas based on my input of the party that I want to throw. And just like in the real world, if I was planning a dinner party and I had a personal assistant, I might say to that person, hey, I am planning a dinner party for 4 people. We can't have dairy. What are your ideas? Give me some suggestions. My assistant is going to give me 3 ideas, 3 suggestions, and then I get to say which one I want to move forward with. And now in the orchestrator phase of the workflow, I'm saying to my personal assistant, okay, I need you to take the idea that we agreed on and come up with the appetizer, come up with the main dish, come up with the dessert. And for each of those things, you need to give me a list so that I have the name of the dish. I need the description for the menu. I need the ingredients so I can have a shopping list. And I need the recipe to give to my private chef. And for right now, we're going to let that personal assistant come up with a recipe, come up with a shopping list, come up with the menu cards. Let's see what happens when we just have our personal assistant agent working and orchestrating all of this for us. So I'm going to select new run and we're going to start the same way that I've been starting. So it's coming up with a couple of ideas. It's being very sarcastic. I love it. We have a fiesta. We have a soiree. Let's go with, let's do this soiree. So I'm just going to copy this whole thing. We're going to move down to the next phase because it's asking me for my input. I'm selecting dinner party idea number 2, and the theme is attempting to be elegant but secretly ordering takeout. We're going to have a cheese and charcuterie board. Oh, this is so interesting. Wow, this is very clever, actually. Now, if you watched my previous video where I set up the initial workflow, the outputs here are very different, but we're going to go with it. I'm not going to change a thing, but if you're paying attention, you know that I asked specifically for no dairy, and it is telling me that we're having a cheese and charcuterie board. So we're going to have to find a way to tell the workflow exactly what the dietary restrictions are so that everything moving forward kind of follows those guidelines and we don't accidentally throw a dinner party for people who can't even consume the food. So we're going to address that in a moment, but for now, let's hit continue. And this is where the orchestrator worker is getting to work. It's planning the appetizer, it's planning the main dish, and it planned out the dessert for me. Now, let's go back and address the problem of the dietary restrictions. Plus, I want to gather some more info about my guests in the initial planning phase as well. So we want the text field for what are we planning, and we also want to create a guest list and a description of each guest's personality. So we're going to make this required, and then I need a multi-select field where I can put the dietary restrictions. This one's not going to be required because it's possible that we can have a party where we don't have any restrictions. So I have dairy, shellfish, eggs, peanuts, alcohol, meat, and we'll also put gluten. And my changes on the input node are saved. So now I need to come down here to the agent and I need to tell my personal assistant, hey, we're not just planning a dinner party, we're planning a dinner party and we have some dietary restrictions. We definitely want to make sure that we get this part of the workflow right because we don't want to go through the trouble of creating recipes for food that we can't make or that my guests can't eat, right? I'm going to update my task here and give it a little bit more clear instructions. So I'm saying you're my personal assistant based on the party theme provided. Generate 3 creative dinner party ideas. Each idea should include a party theme, a short description, 2 fun sentences, and a brief menu concept for appetizer, main dish, and dessert. And important, do not include any ingredients or foods that match the following dietary restrictions. So I'm going to get rid of the top part here. This was the old part of the task. And we need to make sure that when we say, like, hey, we don't want any of these ingredients from the dietary restrictions list, the personal assistant needs to know, like, what are you talking about? What's the list that you're talking about? So we want to say, look in the what are we planning human input node in the dietary restrictions input. And whatever it says in there, that's what we want you to look at. And I want this to say party idea. And I think down here, I'll just put party idea here and then @ symbol again. And we want the what are we planning? My changes are saved. So let's hit new run again. And now we have 3 different inputs here. So what are we planning? Dinner party for 4. I'm going to give this a guest list. And let's just say that we're not doing dairy. We're not doing peanuts. and hit continue. So we have a Mediterranean sunset, a tropical luau, a spicy fiesta. And we're looking to make sure that we're not including dairy or peanuts. So I think we're good there. And I'm not going to continue the rest of this workflow because we need to go back and work on our orchestrator now that we know that our personal assistant has everything they need to create a menu we can actually use. And this would be a good time to remind you or let you know that I created a MindPal assistant custom GPT. It's totally free to use, and you can use it with your free or paid ChatGPT account. It's trained on MindPal's documentation, along with added instructions and documentation from me, because I wanted to be able to learn MindPal and learn AI without all of the jargon. So one of the cool things you can do with this GPT is take your workflow that you're working on in the builder mode, go to share in the top right, and then export to JSON, turn on include agents, and then hit export to JSON. It's going to download a file that you can upload to the MindPal Assistant custom GPT, and the GPT will be able to basically read all of the code of your workflow and understand how it works and what the steps are and what it's programmed to do. And then you can ask it questions like, what do I do next? Or tell it what you're trying to have the workflow do. And the GPT can help you figure out what's going on or troubleshoot something that's not working right. For example, it pointed out to me that my Orchestrator node doesn't have any inputs. It just has a task. It doesn't know what I selected for my human input. It doesn't even know like what the restrictions are. So we want to make sure it has all of the information. The party idea that we are moving forward with is the select party idea. And I also want to let it know that we have the following guests, and we also have our dietary restrictions. But the real magic of the orchestrator worker node and where these multi-agent workflows can really start to feel truly agentic is that the orchestrator agent, the personal assistant in this case, is looking at the task and it's looking at the input from any of the previous inputs. And it's going to decide what worker agent to assign to complete the task, right? So in a real world situation, I'm having this conversation with my personal assistant. Hey, we're planning a party. Here are my ideas. She gave me back her ideas. I told her which one we wanted to move forward with. Now her job is to literally orchestrate planning the party. And right now, her party planning team consists of just herself. But she's not a recipe developer. So let's add a recipe developer agent into the options of all of the different workers that she could pull into this. Now, I used my MindPal Assistant custom GPT to ask it to help me with creating my recipe developer agent. Now, what it's giving me here are agent instructions. So I'm going to choose new agent. I'm going to go to start from scratch. We're going to call this our recipe developer agent. And then over here in ChatGPT, in that custom GPT, it gave us exactly what to put in the background. So you're a professional recipe developer and private chef. You specialize in creating detailed, easy to follow recipes. You never include ingredients that were listed in dietary restrictions. And you assume this list has been filtered. Do not add any new ingredients without instruction. You always provide clear step-by-step instructions with proper measurements. And I do want to make a change here because I have this line that says you assume this list has already been filtered. Do not add any ingredient without instruction. And this is a recipe developer, right? So I actually do want it to create its own recipe, come up with new ingredients and whatever it needs, just not anything on the dietary restriction list. So I'll come back to that in just a second. Let's take this output copy that and paste it into the output down here. And let's take this one line that we're not really liking back to the custom GPT. And I just pointed out, hey, this part, that says don't come up with new ingredients. I'm saying, don't I actually want the developer to come up with whatever ingredients that she needs? And it agreed, yes. So let's just select this whole thing and we'll paste in the new version. So it's saying now you have the freedom to choose appropriate ingredients, but you must strictly avoid anything listed in the dietary restrictions. If you're unsure about an ingredient, err on the side of caution. Perfect. I love that. So the new agent has a title, it has a background, it has an output. Let's select a language model. We'll just go with Gemini Flash. That's the one we've been using. Hit create. So let's do a new run of this one. We will keep going with our dinner party for 4 with Ross, Joey, and Chandler. And our dietary restrictions were dairy and peanuts, right? Let's hit continue. And again, we have Mediterranean sunset, tropical luau, spicy fiesta. Let's go with the tropical luau for this. We're going to copy and paste this in as our selection. Now the Orchestrator node is working. We have our personal assistant who has called on the recipe developer agent to create the recipes. One thing I noticed after testing this is there's a little bit of a clash here because the recipe developer agent has the background that you have full freedom to choose appropriate ingredients. You just have to avoid dietary restrictions. And you specialize in creating detailed, easy to follow recipes. So we're giving the recipe developer agent pretty much full freedom to create whatever it wants. And it's not exactly pulling those ideas from what we actually decided on in the planning phase. So let me come back up here to the party ideas agent. And instead of having this agent come up with a menu, let's have it come up with just a party theme and short description. That's really all we need to know. I also want to steal my dietary restriction important phrase there and just paste it down here because I just like the way that it's worded a little bit better. And this is saved. So let's do another new run. We have a dinner party for 4. Same people are coming. And again, we're choosing dairy and peanuts as our restriction. Again, Mediterranean sunset, tropical luau, enchanted forest this time. Okay, that sounds nice. And it is following the new instructions. It's not giving me a menu. It's just giving me the theme. So I kind of like that. It kind of makes more sense in the real world to choose a theme. And then if you're hiring a private chef, you let the chef come up with the actual menu. And in the Orchestrator worker node, our personal assistant agent correctly and smartly decided to use and call on the recipe developer agent to complete the tasks. Now, if you remember over here in the builder, in the Orchestrator worker node, we don't tell the personal assistant agent what worker agent to use. And we could have a dozen or however many agents we want in here. The personal assistant agent or whatever orchestrator agent you have here is going to look at the input that comes in and look at the task that needs to be done. And it's going to decide which of the worker agents to assign to get that task done based on the input and based on the task. So it can do way more complicated things than what I'm asking it to do. For example, I could have an orchestrator worker node that plans the decorations, and it would know from the planning input whether this is a birthday party, if it's a birthday party for a child or an adult. It would know if it's a retirement party or just a casual dinner party with friends from high school. It would know that from the inputs that you plan, if you put that information into the nodes up here where you're inputting all of those ideas, and you have a birthday party planning agent and a retirement party planning agent and a casual dinner party planning agent, and they all are very specialized to plan those things, because there's a difference between planning a birthday party for a 5-year-old and a birthday party for a 50-year-old. You could have 2 different birthday planning agents, one for kids, one for adults. And then every single time you or anyone else runs this workflow, if you share it with other people or put it inside of your program or give it to clients, it doesn't matter what the inputs are. Your orchestrator agent, your assistant, is going to look at the task and look at the inputs and then look at the workers that it has available and decide which one is the best one to move forward with. So we're getting very agentic here, right? Our personal assistant correctly called on the recipe developer agent, which came up with an appetizer of pineapple salsa, a main dish of Kahlua pig, and a dessert of coconut mango sticky rice. And just doing a quick scan of the ingredients, I'm not seeing dairy or peanuts, so it looks like it is following our dietary restrictions guidelines here, which is really good news. But I want more than just one big output of everything. I need all the information, but I want to take the information and create a shopping list for my personal assistant or my personal chef to go to the store and pick up all of the ingredients to make all of those meals. I also want to create a menu that I can print out and give to my guests when they arrive. And I need the recipes themselves to be compiled for the private chef. And because those are 3 separate outputs and 3 separate tasks that we will probably use separate agents for, we need to add some loops. So I'm going to add loops in the very next video.